What's up, my mathletes? This is Mr. Muscarella coming at you. And in this video, we're going to take a look at the relationship between multiplicity and polynomials. So let's go ahead and take a look at our note sheet. So make sure that you get that out and have that close by. All right, so here we go. Now, before we learned to write polynomial in standard form, we knew the roots, and now we're going to talk a little bit more about this multiplicity. So there's going to be some patterns in here in this chart, and I want you to go ahead, take your time as you fill out the chart. So as we go through this, the very first one, you see 1 mult 2, which means the 0 is 1, which means in factored form, that would be x minus 1. Now the multiplicity of 2, okay, the multiplicity of 2, that tells you that your exponent is going to be a 2. And that's it. That's all you got to do. Easy peasy, right? Like the one below it, so let's do the one below it. The 2 is the 0, so we would have x minus 2. And then the multiplicity is 3, so we would have a 3 for the factored form. All right, pretty straightforward stuff. And then just be careful on ones like the one below that. If you have an x intercept or a 0 of -1, remember, don't forget to switch sign. That's going to be x plus 1. The multiplicity is 4, so our exponent would be 4. Now, I think you get it, so let's just do a couple more here real quickly. So this would be x plus 2, and the multiplicity would be 5. Now, sometimes when we have the fractional zeros, you have to be careful of that, because remember, never, never, never write this as a 0 of x minus 2/3. Nope, 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 don't do that. Grr, ick, yuck. All right, because what we're going to do is write it correctly. We take the 3 and we slide that up, so that's going to be 3x and then minus 2. Now the multiplicity is 2, which means the exponent would be, what? You got it, a 2. All right, pretty straightforward, easy peasy stuff there. So I want you to take a moment to just go ahead and pause the video and then fill out the rest of that column. So go ahead and fill out the rest of the column, pause the video, and then come on back and check and see how you did. All right, rock stars, how do we do with that? Hopefully you got all the rest of those correct. And what I want you to do is pay attention to these guys down here where there's not just one 0, but there are 2. So I'm going to take a look at 2 multiplicity of 3 and then -5. So that's going to give us the 0 that we know is 2. That's going to be this factor x minus 2. The multiplicity is 3, so there's my exponent. And then my other 0 of -5 gives me the factor x plus 5. All right, so that's how you do those when you're given more than one 0. More than one 0, you just have more factors. All right, that's it. Pretty straightforward stuff. Now, in factored form, we can take that and we're going to sometimes have to change that to a standard form of the polynomial. So in order to do that, we're going to take the exponent, whatever that is, and that's how many times we're going to write that factor. So in the first one, we would just write x minus 1 twice. And then one below that, we would just write x minus 2 3 times. Not as an exponent of 3, that's what the degree was. So x minus 2, then another x minus 2, and so on and so forth. I think you get the pattern for it, right? Pretty straightforward, not too difficult. But I'm going to give you a moment to do that after we talk about the degree of the polynomial. Now, there's 2 ways you can look at and calculate the degree of the polynomial. One of the ways is to just look at how many factors there are. I'm going to highlight it here in, I guess, magenta, kind of pinkish. How many factors there are in that factored form leading to the polynomial in standard form. So if we look there in that very first one, we have x minus 1, x minus 1. So there's 2 factors. So the degree of polynomial would just be 2. In this case, if I look at the exponent of my factored form, in the second column, you'll see that it's a 2, which also coincides with that. Now, in the one below that, I have x minus 2 to the 3rd power. And then if you notice, I have 1, 2, 3 factors of x minus 2. So the degree of that one would be 3. And that's how you would take a look at that. But then let's go down here, do a couple of these other guys. All right, so on the one here towards the bottom where you have x minus 2 cubed and x plus 5. So you'd write x minus 2, right? You'd write that 3 times, x minus 2, x minus 2, x minus 2. And then we've got that x plus 5. So don't forget, we've got to write the x plus 5 factor. Now, if I count the number of factors, right, I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I've got 5 factors. So the degree of that polynomial would be to the 5th power. Now, that's one way to get it. Oops, wait, we got to be able to count, right? That would be to the 4th power. I was looking at the 5 in the x plus 5 factor and wrote 5. Oopsies. All right, so that's how you catch yourself before you wreck yourself. Now, another way to do it when you have more than one factor in a polynomial is you could take the exponents of each factor, which in the x minus 2 case, I've got an exponent of 3. And in the x plus 5 case, I don't really have an exponent, so we assume we know that that exponent is 1. If I add up the exponents, 3 plus 1, I do get 4. So that's another way that you could do that. So let me go ahead, give you a moment to finish filling out that entire chart, and then when you get done, come on back, check your answers, and let's see how you did. All right, rock stars, how did we do? Hopefully, you got all of these correct, and you can talk about those patterns here. So we'll talk about those in class, but describe any patterns that you notice between a 0, its multiplicity, and the degree in factored form. So, what are the patterns between the multiplicity and the degree in factored form? What is that pattern? And then there's a follow-up question that describes any connections that you have between the factored form, and the leading standard form column. So basically, look at this column, and the very last column, and see what connections you make between those 3 columns. All right, thanks for watching this video. I appreciate you guys. Hope you have a great day and make it amazing. I'll catch you later. Peace out.